Set in an alternate Cold War world reality, JAZZPUNK will have you embark on missions in order to retrieve highly sensitive information, golf, tail targets of importance, and more. You are Polyblank, and you work for the director. There really isn't much more backstory than that. Basically, he'll give you stuff to do, and then you pop a pill that augments reality, and then you go and do the stuff. There is a narrative that plays out as you progress further in the game, but it only really starts showing towards the last 40 minutes or so of the game. What little story there is here is used to help contextualize what is going on in the game. But even then, I don't think anything could properly make sense of this game's world because it is hilariously insane. Necrophone Games seems to have taken inspiration from slapstick comedy films of yesteryear, but it seems before they watched those films, they took about 150 kilos of cocaine because that's just how crazy this world is. It is all full of jokes and such, but it is insane and makes very little sense. Very little sense. And that's just something you have to accept with JAZZPUNK. The game does not make sense. It's here to make jokes, and then after it's made all the jokes it wants to, it'll end. Although for how crazy the game world is, the gameplay is surprisingly simple. It's essentially a very simple point-and-click adventure game. Use this on that, and then that's the end of the puzzle. You don't have to rely on an inventory for dozens and dozens of items at a time. You don't have to craft anything together. No, the game isn't focused on being a test of your reflexes or how to test how good you are at memorization or how to solve puzzles, nothing like that. No, the gameplay is focused on just being a way to deliver jokes. So if JAZZPUNK thinks it'll be funny for you to wear a disguise in which you put on lipstick and wear a blonde wig, then that's what it will do. If JAZZPUNK thinks it'll be funny for you to spray cheese in a can at a character voiced by Jim Sterling, then that's what it will do.
Do your best to aim for my gaping jowls. Excellent workmanship.
So on a gameplay mechanics level, it's about as deep as a puddle, but if you don't want something that is deep, then JAZZPUNK is mechanically okay. Now, while the music isn't a standout feature of JAZZPUNK, it does do a nice enough job at providing an atmosphere that suits the game relatively well. The only thing that I can say that is bad about the music is that it's not very memorable, so you won't catch yourself humming any of the tunes. Much like the gameplay, the music works, it's not that interesting, but it works. Speaking of something that works and doesn't, technical issues. This is probably the biggest downside of the game. There are no rebindable keys, no volume options, there are only graphical presets, and it doesn't ever say what is changing. You know, it'll say like, oh, this looks better than this, but it won't ever say how it's changing. There's no anti-aliasing, no anisotropic filtering, none of that. You can disable VSync in-game, and it also supports windowed and full screen mode, but as far as the technical side goes, it feels very underdeveloped. The mouse has this weird sort of acceleration that is unable to be removed and can get very annoying, so it's just this technical side of stuff that brings the overall experience of the game down. JAZZPUNK is also a very short game. It took me only 100 minutes in order to beat the entire game. However, with that all being said, if you can look past the length, the game being as mechanically deep as a puddle, and being underdeveloped on the technical side of things, then JAZZPUNK is a very fun $15 game. If you'd like to purchase JAZZPUNK, there is a link to the Steam store page in the description below.